Welcome to another episode of Cancer Tamer. I'm your host, Dr. Charlie Ferrer. And today we have some great information for you, as always. And Deborah brought on a great guest that she's going to tell you all about.
Hi, this is Deborah Santulli-Barone, Did You Know, of Cancer Tamer. Today I have with me my trainer, my fitness trainer, and Robert Sullivan. How you doing?
Hey, Deborah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm so glad that you came today.
Yeah, thank you.
You're certified in what exactly?
NASM, the National Academy of Sports Medicine.
Great,
Yes.
Great. What made you get into that?
Actually, when I was younger, I always was inspired to exercise. My dad was really big into weightlifting, and he had me like doing push-ups since I was like 5 years old. And he, and since then, like I was always interested in the body, trying to figure it out more and more. I would give my friends advice on how to exercise, and I was like, you know what? I could get paid to do this, so why not?
Good for you.
And so then what was your course like? Did you have to take certain courses in nutrition and body fitness and so on?
I learned, I'm not a certified nutritionist because there's a difference between being a nutritionist and a trainer. What I did learn about nutrition because every trainer, depending on the certification they get, NASM and ACE, ACE is another one I'm trying to get into as well. Those are the two like top certifications right now in the industry. And nutrition is definitely talked about because nutrition just matters in getting a person with their desired fitness goals.
Right.
And so basically what I learned was an online course, and I also went to workshops as well. I did an internship, and we just went over just the whole body mechanics, how to lose weight, how to build muscle, corrective exercise, and etc.
Excellent. And you work with Deborah.
Yes,
exactly.
So I met Robert, and I said, I need help. I had breast cancer, and I take a medication called Arimidex, and Arimidex blocks some of your estrogen. And believe it or not, estrogen is used for your bones, for your muscles. So now I have less of that. And the whole fear of being on Arimidex is that your bones get so weak you wind up with osteoporosis, which is not good. Osteoporosis is weakening of the bones so that you wind up with more fractures. And that's something you don't want. So I'm trying to stay ahead of it. So my molecular bone doctor said, well, you need to work out. So I met with Robert, and I told him what I needed. I needed to make my muscles stronger because I was very weak, and to strengthen my bones, and balance is very important too, because if you don't fall, you can't break a bone, right? Okay. So, you can talk about like what you had for me, what kind of regimen, I guess, right?
Yes, definitely. What we do, something called compound lifts. Basically, that's multi-joint movements. Like we would do all types of movements, but we would also specify on compound lifts, which are, let's say, a shoulder press, a push-up, any type of squats. Doing things like that involve multiple joints, so it's very efficient and effective with pretty much putting some type of stress, but good stress on the bones. Just doing, let's say, a bicep curl is good just to affect the your humerus. But you want to get as much in as possible, and you can do that with compound lifts. Now, with regards to stabilization and balance,
so before you do that, but the compound lifts are basically, it's like a synergy type flow, so that if you're working this one, you're also working here, and they'll help each other, so that you don't make one part too strong and then the other one is still weak. Is that the basis for it, so that they work together?
It is. It's definitely working together. Yes, you don't want to just do one isolation movement because that's the opposite of a compound. And if you do isolation, you're just working only on one muscle specifically. But when you do a compound lift, and of course, aside to go along with what you're saying, you want to work on the antagonistic muscle groups as well. So if you're doing a push-up, you want to do something called like a bent-over row or a chin-up if you're able to. And pretty much that's going to work the pulling muscles. You want to work the entire body, not just, let's say, the front of the body, which is what sometimes a lot of people do, is they'll work out the mirror muscles and not the muscles in the back.
So when you're talking about like the bicep curl, you're saying that this, which I happen to have a weight today, so this is not as efficient as what?
As, let's say, if I could see this, as pushing it above your head. Because when you push it above your head, you're working both the shoulder joint and the elbow joint.
Okay, so I started with 5 pounds, And, I go like that, which he shows me what to do. But let's say you've never worked out. You can start with 1 pound or 3 pounds.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or after your surgery. And you don't,
Yes.
if you, especially because we always talk about breast surgery. So if you had any kind of surgery, it is very important to talk to your physician.
Right.
Because
You have to get approval.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you want to make sure that you're ready for it.
Right.
Because after breast surgery, you won't have much upper body strength. So that opening that fridge is really difficult.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you won't have that upper body strength, but you also don't want to tear any stitches that you might have.
Of course.
So true.
Because you might have the stitches still, or they might have already healed, but internally.
Right, because you have internal stitches,
Yes,
too.
you also have internal stitches.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to, Deborah's awesome. She's already at 5 pounds. I'm struggling with
You'll get there.
going into 2 pounds. And
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
That's
Yeah, my
it.
surgery was different.
Yeah.
But you're right. You always have to speak to your doctor. You have to get approval. The only thing with the exercise, let's say, like when you do the lumpectomies and then they cut you to do your nodes, the doctors, mainly the nurses will tell you, okay, move your arm out a little bit
Right.
slowly, and
And
then little
I
by
love
little
the
move
little
them up the
crawl the wall.
because
Yeah.
believe it or not, this tends to hurt more than the whole thing here,
Nice.
So,
I bet.
but let's say I finally got the approval and I went to the gym. It took months, believe me, months to be able to go back to the gym because I was weak on top of everything
Yeah.
else. So the whole factor for me was I don't want osteoporosis. I need to strengthen my muscles. So there were a lot of exercise that Robert showed me, but I did tell him that my doctor said certain exercises with the back, not to use weights to twist because that's not good. So now he's understood that. Plus he taught me a lot. So let's say we're working on our legs. How would I strengthen my legs?
Squats, like we mentioned before, lunges. Lunges are very good. Once again, pretty much those are all compound movements, once again. And a great aspect to squats and lunges is they're very functional movements. Once you stabilize, once you can actually do those exercises properly, you're going to increase your stability strength. That's basically making sure that you don't just fall up and down. You want to have good balance, which is exactly what lunges work on. And that's basically exactly what you want to do. And in order to get stronger, you want to do things that don't use a machine. We want to stay away from machines. You want to do things where free weights, out in the open, where you're relying purely on your own body to stabilize itself.
And what about the core? Because you talk about core. Explain what core is.
Oh, 100%. People think the core is just the six-pack muscles. But
I'm up to 2 packs.
All right.
There you go.
I've got a 2-pack. I don't have my 6.
You getting there. That's it.
But it's like it's slow.
And it's okay.
It's a process, yeah. And
so
so
it's okay.
the core is more than just, the 2-pack, whatever you got. Whatever you got going on, whatever. The core is everything that goes around, like the core of the apple. It's the stem. That's how our core works. It's our entire torso. And so you want to increase the stability around your entire spine. That's how you strengthen your core, actually. So exercises like planks, anything, even. And when you do any exercise, you should be engaging your core, just because you don't want to develop improper movement patterns.
So explain engaging.
Engaging is basically like bracing. Like if you're going to get punched in the stomach, that's how you brace your core.
So are you holding it in?
Yeah.
I'd be like, I will be punching you in the stomach, Deborah.
Yeah. And that's what I'm going to start doing. If people do it wrong, I'm going to give a little punch. That's really it. Yeah.
Oh, boy. How about endurance? Because I read with the American Institute of Cancer Research and, of course, the American Cancer Society, exercise. They stress it so much. And whether it's tiny steps in the beginning to just walk around the block or whatever, that is going to help you to hopefully, ward off cancers. So when we talk about endurance, are we talking about cardiac or, cardio?
I would, when it comes down to endurance, and that they said that prevents the cancer.
Well, that helps.
Well,
Nothing
it's more
prevents-
of, it's not so much that it's preventing the cancer. What it is that you're getting healthier. And so a healthy body is less likely to get any kind of illness.
Makes complete sense.
And so you're getting healthier. Walking, exercising anyway, it allows you to get healthier.
Right.
And so your body is more able to get rid of any illness, get rid of any colds, get rid of anything that comes up. Not that you won't,
Yes,
you know,
but it's less of a
but
chance.
it's a less of a chance because you're healthier.
Right. Because even
and-
with obesity, you know, if you're losing weight, you lose the weight, you're not obese anymore, let's say, that's a factor of trying to stay healthy and hopefully ward off cancers.
Yes. Yeah. And there is, you can look up some information about obesity and cancer and how the two correlate and how you can end up getting sick, because being overweight also makes you prone to a lot of other illnesses such as diabetes, such as circulation issues, such as cancer, such as heart disease. You know, so there's always a correlation between being obese and being overweight and not being healthy.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I hate the word obese because, you know, the word obese is basically 20 pounds over.
Right.
And you can be 20 pounds over and you're going, oh my God, I'm obese. It's like, no, you're not. But you do need to be conscientious of your health. You need to be
100%.
conscientious of what you eat, what you drink, what you put into your body, what you keep out of your body. So, you know, so exercising is something that's very important, and that's one of the reasons why, you know, why we have you on the show to be able to do that. The one thing that I have to apologize for is that we aren't able to jump around and you know, he can't really show all the exercises and so on, but I'm sure that we will have him on the show again.
Yes, or we're going to
we'll go to the gym.
Or to the gym,
And we'll go to the gym and we'll have some additional footage for you. And if you go to cancertamer.org, you'll see the additional footage we'll have there for
Exciting.
you.
Pictures.
And pictures. So you can see Deborah working out. which is funny, Deborah, because we have you do all the physical stuff.
You know, I don't
Since the
mind.
beginning.
She's in shape, she can do it.
Yeah, because you did the yoga part, which
yeah.
was, and here's the thing about physical training, you know, and we've been doing this show for over a year now, and it is that piece of sometimes it takes a while to get back into shape, or even if you are in shape, to be able to do a lot of the functions. So remember when we had the yoga lady on the show, and she's like, oh, you could do this, and I'm like, no, I can't. No, I can't. And she's like, and you can roll this, and I'm like, no, I can't.
Right.
So Deborah started doing all the fun stuff.
But because it depends what stage you're in with your recuperation on it too.
That's so true.
You know, which was difficult, and it took longer for some people, and
So
but it's okay.
so while we have you here, are there things that you can give us, even, and I would say, which we can start with something that you're sitting down in. So if you're just here, can you give us a couple of examples?
Oh yeah, sure. Well, you know,
Like what you can do when you're. But you can also, because of the fact that you don't have a big, because you can do them sitting down, I would imagine.
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
totally.
how would
There's
you be
so many
able to do a push and pull while we're sitting down here?
While we're sitting here, well, we could definitely do some. Right here, we have the weights, so we can do some bicep curls, even though that's not the most efficient thing to do.
Right, like you said, this way and up.
And then pressing,
and
actually, to do the most would be to do the curl and then the press. There you go. And then as you're doing this, keep that stomach tight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're working on that stability. Oh yeah.
Okay.
You know, that's it.
And then, for the core, when you talked about planks, and then you talked about, I'm trying to think of what else, anything that engages the stomach and the torso to keep that strong, and a lot of balancing too. Now, balance, and I do a lot of balancing exercises so that hopefully I don't fall. You know, when you feel like you're going to fall and you could stop yourself, that's good balance. I hope to keep working on that. But, okay, we talked about endurance, that's right, and cardio.
Yes.
Because that's good, too, to get your heart rate up a little bit so that you can handle certain things. Let's say you want to go dancing one night, and you haven't done cardio, and then you get out on the dance floor, you do 2 dances, and then you're huffing and puffing, you know. So what would someone do when it comes to cardio?
Cardio, so you know, you want to, it's pretty much cardio is anything that gets your heart rate up. And so that could be done in just like what we're doing right here with the dumbbells. But so really you want to progress it. It's another form of just baby stepping the progress. Now there's different forms of cardio, you know, there's more intensity. Since if you just came out of like surgery, you want to start off very light so you don't like hurt yourself, because cardio, even though it's just cardio and you're not really going all out intense with weights, you can still obviously like hurt yourself because there's so many different forms. So really I would start off with just walking, then progressing to like you know, power walking, brisk walking, jogging, and then if you could just speed up the jogging a little bit more, that'd be really good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would mention, you know, after my surgery, I did a lot of walking.
Yes.
And I did a lot
really
of walking like this, you know, where I actually held on to my breasts and walked because it does hurt. You know, making sure that you have a good sports bra, or if you're still in your compression bras, then making sure you have your compression bra on and you have whatever you need. And I remember because I got to where I didn't have to use the compression bra for a while, and so I just started using T-shirts, and I didn't use bras because of the fact that they hurt, and they always sit right on your stitch line. So I don't know why the hell they do the surgery with the stitch line, because underneath here your bra's always sitting there. So I got to where I didn't use a bra for a while, and I just used T-shirts. And my plastic surgeon had said, don't do that. Because of the fact that you're pulling and you don't have the support you need. So make sure that you talk to your doctor about the kind of bras that you can use. And don't go out and spend tons of monies on bras, because I've spent over $500 on bras. And just, you know, I'd buy them, and then like within 2 wears, I couldn't wear them anymore because either they rolled up or they didn't sit right. So that's one piece of when you're exercising, you know, using the correct bra that you need, or using a sports bra that will hold you tight,
but low enough,
but low enough. So the ones that I found that are more mid chest bras, but if you have to buy the ones that are very good quality.
Right, because they have something that doesn't roll up.
Yeah, because most of your mid, what is this called, midsection, they only have like one little thin strip of plastic holding it. Yeah, the little rubber thing. And if you're allergic to latex, it really sucks because you can't wear them, which I found out the hard way. But you need to buy the ones that are much thicker, that they have more of a band, and they'll sit there. Because unless you're like Deborah and have this wonderful physique and you're really nice and tight all the way down, they will roll, and they'll sit on your stitches. So, it's one of those things where when you're doing fitness, it's not just looking at, you know, which exercise I'm doing, but what am I wearing, how am I behaving,
it has to accommodate.
It has to accommodate, and then being able to talk, because I know you talked to him about all the things that you needed to keep in mind. So making sure that you talk to your trainer, if you're getting a trainer, to be able to say, hey, these are the parameters that I have. You know, I'm working on getting upper body strength, but I need to keep, you know, no weights, just resistance,
going through the motion.
So then you start with just the resistance, and you're going through the motions, or you
just to get the joint range of motion, especially if you had the surgery.
Yeah, because you're so tight.
Totally. And you know, that goes not just for cancer-related surgeries, but any type of surgery too. You want to make sure you're going through the full range of motion, just so the stitch doesn't actually like solidify, and then you no longer have that range of motion ever there, and otherwise it'll just open up again, and you don't want that to happen.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
And I think it's important because a lot of doctors, they don't really tell, or the nurses or anyone really tell you that when you're taking medication that can hurt your bones, that you really should have a bone doctor. There are bone doctors, orthopedic, and then the bone doctor I found, which was molecular bone doctor, which understood osteoporosis, osteopenia. Osteopenia comes before osteoporosis. Osteopenia means that your bones are getting slightly weaker. Another factor is that I've learned that you should get a bone density test before you go on medication, and then a year after to see, has there been a big difference? If there is, you have to up your calcium or your vitamin D. But again, only let your doctor or your dietitian tell you that. You know, we're not telling you what to do when it comes to medications or vitamins. That's something you have to discuss. But there's so many people out there that are taking the medication and not realizing that they can speak to another doctor. In the beginning, I had my bone density done twice in 1 year, just to make sure.
That's great.
And it's the piece of, and you brought up a great point, is the fact that you can go to more than one doctor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can have that second opinion.
It's always the best thing.
And I think that we tend to forget that we can have a second opinion on what's going on.
And we have the power.
Regardless.
Yeah,
Exactly.
always.
I love when you say that. We have
the power.
Okay, yeah, I agree. You guys definitely do.
And you brought up a great point. It is that part of, especially if you're on a Rumidex, if you're on anastrozole or any kind of cancer meds, and sometimes other medications as well.
Right.
It does affect your bones, and you want to make sure. And even as we get older,
right,
you know, it does affect your bones, and so you want to make sure that you're healthy. And one thing that I thought was really cool was I got to see all my bones. I got to see all the inside of me and my little skeleton.
That's actually really cool.
So it really is cool, and I love seeing all the different aspects of my body, inside and out. Even though I'm not that kind of doctor, but it is a wonderful thing. You do need to know where you're starting. You know, even in any exercise, you need to know where you're starting so that you can see your progress along the way.
Exactly.
Which is really important.
Now I'm curious, with exercises that I've done to try to make my bones thicker, denser, how does it help the bones in your feet or in your head, your skull? You know, like, does it go all around, all this good stuff? I'm curious. You know, I always wondered about that.
Feet, definitely, because you'll be standing on your feet. Head, I don't know, that's a great...
I guess it's thick enough, my skull, right? I don't know.
Walk in that head.
Yeah,
like,
really.
When I was a kid, that's what my uncle used to say. Cabeza de coco.
Oh my God.
You know, and
In
so
Italian, we say capatos, you know,
it's still there.
I was just curious. So then the overall, if you can tell the people out there that are taking these medications that can weaken the bones, what are some of your suggestions?
I definitely recommend moving as much as possible, stretching, definitely stretching. Just any type of stretching is good. Just move every single joint, you know, twist your ankles, twist your wrists, move everything around. Just, you know, whatever you see like an animal naturally do, that's what we have to do.
Oh, like the cats.
Yeah, exactly, like a cat. Like a cat, exactly. And, you know, when it comes to just resistance training, just, you know, anything counts.
So you could use your own body weight for resistance.
Definitely.
Right,
definitely.
so you're saying, like, if you're sitting and you don't want to stand, you can use your body weight to do this. Or you can do it like I lean against a wall, and I like to do that sometimes.
Yeah.
Or you can lean on the wall with your back to the wall, and you can go down a little bit so that you're working your legs, which is what, your hamstrings you're working? Your quads, okay. Yeah, to strengthen them, because sometimes you can have weak muscles, but if your you can have weak bones, but if your muscles are strong, that compensates, I guess,
Oh, yeah,
right?
That makes
is that
sense.
what it is?
Like, we're at least protected, because that's what our body is just a walking skeleton with these muscles that support the holding the skeleton up. That's all the muscles act as, is just ability to hold the skeleton up in the air. Yeah. So, you know, I mean, of course, though, like, you have to be much more careful, because if your muscles are really strong and your bones are weak, then you can't do anything too fast. But that's why it's also really good, once again, to stretch. And so that means when you go to the end range of motion, you want to actually work on something called, like, mobility. People get the mistake of thinking mobility and flexibility are the same thing, but really flexibility is really just your ability to move a muscle into an elongated position in a passive way. So basically, like, I would use one body part to move the other body part, whereas mobility is just using that body part to go as far back as possible. What that does is you're strengthening the musculature in that position. So that means the tendons and the ligaments and the musculature are strong, and you won't put the joint at risk. Yeah.
I see.
So yeah, you want to really do active stretching, not just passive stretching.
So like some people that, let's say, with the weight, and they're just going down a little bit, it's not really doing much, but if they go all the way down?
Exactly, that's a great example.
So they're going all the way down, and then all the way up, and then up that way.
Exactly, that's a fantastic example, actually. Full range of motion is definitely the key to protecting your joints. movements.
Okay. And hydration is always
Hydration,
good, right?
oh yeah, definitely hydration.
And again, always get the approval of your doctors.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And one of the programs that I really love is the Live Strong program with the YMCA. And so if you have a YMCA in your area, talk to them about their Live Strong program. For cancer patients, it's free. And you can have a trainer. They give you a personal trainer that will be able to work with you at least once a week to get you started.
Right.
And it's totally free for the first 3 months, so there is a time limit. But it's a wonderful way for you to get started. And they do require that your doctor gives approval for you to start.
Right, that's good. That's very good.
Yeah, because I remember I was like, no, I'm ready to start. They're like, go get your doctor.
Yeah, no, it's smart. Smart.
Especially since
you had a lot
you're
going
starting
on.
to work with your arms and getting back into shape.
Exactly.
Right.
So it does become the part of, don't go crazy and think you can do the whole thing in 20 minutes.
Right.
Because it's also the part of motivating yourself and being able to be prepared to say, hey, I'm going to start this regimen and I'm going to go slow.
Right.
And most people tend to do I'm going to exercise for a whole hour today.
Yeah.
And then you don't exercise again because it's like you're so, you're
wiped out.
so tired and your muscles hurt and it's like, it takes you a week to recover.
They get overwhelmed.
Here come the pain. It hurts.
And I do, and I'm glad you brought that up because I hate the no pain, no gain mentality.
Right.
Because your body is saying, hey, this hurts. It hurts for a reason. There's something wrong, so investigate that.
Exactly.
Or it's saying, you haven't worked out in years, so.
That's it. That's it.
So don't try to be crazy to work out.
That's right.
To work out so much in one day.
There is such a thing as
So
too much.
Yeah. So you start the natural progression.
Exactly.
And
You
doing
gotta
it
baby step it.
slowly.
Totally.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually at the JCC, they have a program in the pink, and that's for anyone who had breast cancer can go there for free to do that.
That's awesome.
And so, there are things out there. But now with you, so you can train at a gym, but you also do personal training at somebody's home or whatever
definitely.
too.
All that, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And, group training, all that.
Group training.
Yes, yeah.
Do you do any classes? Do you do aerobic classes or something?
I actually teach hit and fit,
Hit and
high
fit.
intensity interval training, which it's high intensity workouts. And then at the end we actually do some type of stretching and corrective exercise, just because after all that intense work, you want to make sure you rebalance the body and stretch out the tight muscles, so you don't develop any type of imbalances.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Interesting.
Starting slow and working up.
Right.
And then you can get a personal trainer.
That's it. Or even a personal trainer can show you how to properly progress straight from the beginning. Because I have clients from all walks of life, people who have, 70 to 80-year-olds who are, who have osteoporosis already. They have weak joints, and we have to take it easy with them. And they themselves may not know how to progress, so a trainer could definitely show them where to start properly so they don't get hurt.
Right, because then this way, if you know what you're doing from the beginning, you can start that.
Right, and doing it right.
Yeah. So
Exactly.
I want to be able to say thank you so much for being
Thank you so much.
here.
Yeah.
this
For
was
talking.
Both of you guys.
We will have a second part to this where we
Awesome.
will have Deborah show all the different exercises and
at the
stuff.
gym.
And so you are welcome to ask questions, send comments, be able to see the show on TV as well as on our website. So feel free to go to www.cancertamer.org and be able to do that. I'm Dr. Charlie Ferrer. Thanks for watching.